Hey everyone, welcome to the Simple Electronics Podcast. I'm your host, Dan from the Simple Electronics YouTube channel. And with me today, nobody at all. It's just me. And this episode is sponsored by PCBWay, but more about them later on. So yeah, just me today. I can't seem to find myself in a place where I have the time and the energy and the wherewithal to do everything that I want to do or need to do. And just, stay out of chaos. So I do have a couple of guests lined up, so don't worry if you're a big fan of the guest episodes. They're coming back. There should be one for the next episode, and I also have one for the episode after that, as long as all goes well. So I thought today I would just start out the podcast talking about sort of where I envision the future of my YouTube channel. So most of you should know me by my YouTube channel and less so by my podcast, but some of you may not have visited my YouTube channel. But basically, I have come up in the last couple of weeks, sort of like with an end game of where my YouTube channel should be, or that I wish it would become over time. Now, this is sort of like my ideal. This would be like if everything works out, this is what my YouTube channel would look like. I don't at all expect it to get that way. I'm hopeful, but I won't be like severely disappointed if I don't get there. It just is what it is. So, in an ideal place where my channel and my life would bring me, I would start with a slightly bigger house. Now, this is a first world problem, I know, for a lot of the younger generations out there. You guys are struggling. I completely get it. I was lucky that my wife and we earned relatively good money, especially my wife, because she doesn't spend a penny. Like she's been saving up money from her first job, basically, and I think she started working at 14. I'm not sure. She was very young, and I had gone, and I was full time as an automotive mechanic. It was, slowly destroying my body, but I didn't know that at the time. I was young. So in 2012, we bought our first house together, our first house period, our only house. We still live in the same place. And, it's a nice place. I can't really complain about it too much, but it was a starter home and it's a townhome. It's like one of those, it's attached on both sides sort of place. And so it's okay, but it's 1,200 square feet. So it's kind of small. It has one full bathroom. It has another one, like a half bathroom. It has 3 bedrooms, and it was built a long time ago. So it's pretty old. So energy costs are kind of high, even for the small square footage. And we bought this in 2012. So what will that make? 10 years ago? And yeah, we still have like massive mortgage payoff and stuff like that. But what I'm getting at is my channel would bring me to a bigger house simply because I work from home, right? My the YouTube channel actually happens, and this podcast even happens in the basement of our home, 1,200 square feet. If you think about it, divide that by 3 floors: basement, main floor, second floor, and yeah. So I control a reasonable chunk of the basement, most of it. The only thing I don't really, my hobby hasn't sprawled into is like the furnace room and where the washer dryer is and stuff like that. So I'm at a point where it's pretty much full. I can't really bring many more machines in or anything. I'm starting to build solutions to stack things vertically because we're running out of space. And my wife, who does streaming too, she has the upstairs, but she has 1 bedroom, and she has the second biggest bedroom. And I think she would like some more space too. And so it's a dream of mine for my YouTube channel to bring me to my YouTube channel and my other endeavors, because obviously I've got other endeavors, to bring me to a point where we can buy a second house. Now, it's starting to look more and more like this house is our forever house. That might happen. and there could be worse things. So I guess like I'm making peace with that. But we would really need something about 1,800, maybe 2,100 square feet. That would be like our ideal, bigger and, floor plan laid out a little bit different. Our house, because it's a townhome, very narrow and very long, right? We like something a little bit more squared off. We'd like to have like a more open concept sort of house and have just a bit more room to breathe. So, and don't forget, this is my ideal, right? My ideal is not actually like a huge mansion on the top of a hill in California. I'm just talking about, something, 4-bedroom home. And I say bedrooms, but the rooms will be used for our production. So it's not like we're going to be, using up all that space for ourselves. It's kind of like where we work. And like I spend most of my time here working, or at least trying to work. But my wife, for real, she works like so much. She probably works like 12 hours a day. She is nuts. And so having a bit more space would be great for that. Now, ideally, this home would be sitting on a little bit more property than we have now. Our property is the width of our house, so you can't even get to the backyard without going through the garage or the house. The garage is tiny. I have a 1989 CRX in there, so it's a tiny 2-seater car, and it's hard to walk around it. That's how small the garage is. And then in the backyard, we have a pool, which was a mistake. We didn't know this when we bought the house. I mean, when we were shopping for houses, everything in our price range was an absolute dump until we saw this house, and this house was not a dump. So it came with a pool. People who think that cars are unreliable have never owned pools. I can tell you that for a fact. But it takes up the whole backyard, and honestly, we don't even really like the pool. Like, you have there's basically no backyard because of the pool. And we had a pool place tell us that it is about the same price to get a pool, an in-ground pool, installed in your backyard than it is to remove the pool and fill the hole in a way that your house isn't going to, the foundation isn't going to get sucked into it in a landslide. So big regrets there. If you're having doubts, don't ever buy a house with a pool. But this idealized house that I would love to end up in would be on, a little bit more property, so it'd have more room for outdoor projects. Think about like solar array. I would like some space for like a couple sheds, or 2-car garage would be ideal, and maybe an outbuilding. So either my channel will move to the basement of a bigger home, or it would be housed in an outbuilding on my property. I don't think I want to go the route that a lot of YouTubers go, and they get like an office space or a warehouse and they build it out. I mean, that would be awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I think I would be really happy continuing to work from home. I don't think I want to, get out of bed and commute to the office. I like, coming down here in my pajamas and working on stuff down here. That's kind of more my jam. So in this 2-car garage, there would be enough space, hopefully, or on the property too. There would be enough space to have 2 electric vehicles, and one of them, in my mind, is completely built by me. I will have, welded the steel, fiberglassed the parts, constructed the battery out of multiple, LiFePO4 cells. Have a speed controller. I mean, ideally something that I would design, something of my own design. put together, run the cables to, did all the throttle control algorithms, all the braking algorithms and stuff, that I just myself would have made this. And if you want like a mental picture, I'm thinking of a summer car. So it would be a little bit like if you look up what an aerial atom is, ARIEL space ATOM. It's kind of like an exoskeleton, like a caged exoskeleton car. It doesn't really have like side panels, doesn't really have like a cabin per se. It's sort of like if a motorcycle became a car. And that kind of like lattice frame, sort of like engineered sort of outer shell type thing, is the type of thing that gets my mind going. The type of thing that excites me, because I'm a big believer in form. Function is form. So stuff that works well looks pretty to me. And so, yeah, that's sort of minimalist. Maybe it would have a shell just for autonomy, for range, because on an electric car, you're kind of limited by range, or you kind of want to push the range as far as you can. But yeah, it would be something like that. There are sort of like golf cart motors that people use for electric conversions. That would be on my short list for shopping for something like that. But there's also like all sorts of other things. Like there's electric forklift motors. And soon enough, there's going to be like a flood of sort of EV motors, like specific motors that are designed and wound for EVs. They're like out of, let's say, scrapped Teslas. God knows there's going to be a lot of scrapped Teslas in the next 10 years or so. And, as more manufacturers join the fray, people are going to, companies are going to start scaling up the manufacture of motors. And hopefully there'll be a larger supply of motors to choose from, in the 10 or 20 years it'll take me to get to the point where I'm going to be building an electric car myself. And then, yeah, I'm going to just design my own thing, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's going to be twin motor 4-wheel drive, I think, that in my idealized world. 2-seater, a little bit of space to put stuff in the trunk, and massive batteries. One day I'll sort of sketch out what I've envisioned for my EV, if you guys are interested in that. So yeah, that would be in the garage. But I would also want to build myself an e-bike. I would probably do an e-bike conversion. And in fact, I'm a little bit closer to that at the moment than electric car. My wife and I, we have bikes. We haven't been out on the bike for a long time. I'll kind of explain why a little bit later. But I would love to do a DIY conversion to an e-bike, or maybe even get sent an e-bike for a review one day. And if not, then, I'll just do a DIY conversion. The bicycle having less mass, and there's a bunch of parts already available for conversions, I think is a little bit more trivial. And on top of that, for where I'm living now, a bicycle would be a lot more space efficient than, try to do a 4-wheeled vehicle, which could be, has to be a couple feet wide at least. I don't have a couple feet of width to put anything at this point. So yeah, that would be in the ideal. I would have both the car and the bike. But I think we would also have, my wife and I, we would have also an electric car for all season use. So in the winter, I think a commercial electric car is the type of thing we would have, instead of using my DIY car, because again, it's going to be like open and whatever. So probably have a commercial electric vehicle, and then a my DIY one for the summer. This property also, in my fantasy, I guess, also would include a massive solar array, to the point where I would like the house to be, connected to utilities, plumbing, sewer, electricity. However, I would like it to be switchable to off-grid completely. I think we're at a point with renewables that we're not very far from, people in the middle class, which is, I don't know, it's disappearing. Trying not to be political here, but we're at a point where the people in middle class, at least in North America, are starting to be able to afford solar installations and, sort of like green energy solutions. And to me, I'm really excited for that. I'm really ready for green energy. I feel less guilty about using stuff, about using electricity if I'm just generating it for free from the sun. And I'm totally fine. In winter here in Canada, you definitely need to be hooked onto the grid unless you have a large property, because in the winter, the days become extremely short. I think I went upstairs today at like 6 p.m. and upstairs was like pitch black because I was in the basement under my artificial lighting. I didn't realize that, it had become evening so quickly. And so, yeah, I would have a large solar array, have the house be self-sufficient, and have the house even heated by geothermal. So for those of you who don't know, geothermal is a system where it's sort of like a heat exchanger, like an AC unit that takes the heat in the house and pumps it out using refrigerant and then blows it outside. And then when you switch that around, you can extract heat out of the outside air and then pump it inside to heat your house. Geothermal works on a very similar principle, but instead of using a compressor to compress a refrigerant to exploit the phase change of that refrigerant, they drill large holes deep into the ground where the ground temperature doesn't fluctuate as much. And then they use the heat pump technology to suck heat out of the ground and pump it into your house for heating. And then when you reverse it, you can take the heat out of your house and pump it into the ground for cooling. And so geothermal systems, they either use a phase change, sort of like an AC, or they just use like radiative, like just literally lines circulating in a pattern underground just to transfer the heat. And so you can actually heat your house for the cost of running a pump to move, liquid around pipes. And the benefit of that is that it doesn't need to scale. So if you want your house at 22 degrees Celsius, like 74 Fahrenheit, something like that, well, it doesn't matter if you want it 22 or 26 Celsius, which would be like, I think in the 80s Fahrenheit. You're still just circulating that stuff all the time. And so it doesn't really matter what your target temperature is. It'll just keep circulating on and on and on. So the price increase for going up in temperature isn't like proportional to the amount of differential you have, because you're just taking the heat from in the earth. There is a way to saturate it, but it's not really that bad. And so the other luxury that allows you would be to have a heated driveway. So some people here in Canada have a heated driveway, which they basically put, heating elements underneath the driveway. And then when it snows, you don't need to break your back shoveling. You just turn on the heated driveway and it melts all the snow, which is incredibly inefficient if you're using electricity or gas to do that. And a lot of Canadians that have that are upper class people because it is done with electricity, mostly electricity or gas. But if you have geothermal, you can plumb it in and your cost increase is like negligible, right? And if you combine that with the pump that you need to use to run your geothermal being powered off solar power, especially, solar power charging batteries, and the batteries can run the geothermal all night, it's like basically costs you nothing, which is awesome. I would love for my entire operation here, plus my living and whatever, to be neutral, energy neutral. Can just use full renewable. At the moment, I don't think the property we're on now, because it's so small, I don't think it's even possible to fill our entire property with solar panels and become neutral. But, this theoretical final property, quote unquote, that would have that capability, right? Ideally. The other thing that I would really like to end up is either for the house and the property to be on a body of water or within relative easy access of a body of water. So here in Ottawa, we have the Ottawa River, which kind of crosses, it cuts the north of Ottawa. Like it basically, Ottawa is right up to the south of the riverbank, basically. It touches the riverbank. And this river goes, east-west or west-east. It flows eastwards. And that is awesome because it's a great body of water. I mean, a town right next to it. So it kind of, there's claims of it being filthy, but I love being on the water. So if we keep our current house here, which is a possibility because we're not earning very much, this would be okay because, I can have a boat and I can bring it over to the water and I can spend some time in the water. But the thing is, this property here, I have nowhere to store a boat. So this year we bought kayaks, got a really good deal on them, didn't cost us very much. But even storing 2 kayaks has been a pain in the butt. So not fun at all. And so my eventual final property, my wife and I's final property, I would like to be near water that I can trailer relatively easily to water and, a boat launch, or on a body of water. My ideal thought would be, I get up in the morning, walk out of my back door, walk, down a dock on my property, hop into a boat and go cruising, up and down the river. And I'll get to the boat in a moment. And then cruise back and then walk in, have some breakfast, and then go downstairs and start my work day. That, to me, I don't think a work day can be any more perfect than that. So yeah, this is my dream, to have that access to water. Now, if here in Ottawa, if you make enough money, there are marinas where you can just dock your boat permanently, and then you'll go, you'll drive up, park there, walk to the thing, walk to the dock, and then get in your boat and go hang out. So that's fine. That works, right? But the prices are extremely expensive. I'm just looking up a marina real quick here. I don't see the pricing, but I think it's something around $25 to $30 a foot for the summer season, and with a minimum of 15 feet. So if you go like 30 times 15, that's $450 to dock your boat there just for the summer. And so that's really expensive. That's hella expensive. And usually they have a minimum, right? So even if you have a really short boat, it doesn't matter. But if you want like a reasonable sized boat, like a lot of the boats that are there, they can be like 30, 40 feet. So it becomes super expensive. And so, yeah, it makes sense. Boating is a rich person's game, but my ideal would be to do it on a budget. And which brings me to my idea for what kind of boat I want. Now, some of you know that I have a website, simpleelectronics.ca. And on that website, I have a dreams section, which I need to add more of. Maybe all what I'm talking here can all be added to the dreams section eventually. But part of that is going down the Rideau River system, which is also in Ottawa, but that river goes north-south, and it cuts the city in half north-south, and then it makes a T-junction with the river to the north, which goes east-west, which is the Ottawa River. I would love to build a barrel raft, so extremely inexpensive, and have it solar-powered, use solar panels for the roof, and then just cruise down, take a week or two off of my responsibilities, maybe even make videos on it and cruise down the Rideau system. You can go from Ottawa down to Toronto through a long roundabout way, but it's apparently extremely scenic. It's just very, very slow. And, you know, in a solar-powered craft, that would be my ideal. So that would be something I can do in the next couple of years. But what I would want to do in my idealized place is I'd have maybe a little bit faster, but I'd still have, you know, a boat, probably something that I would make myself, sort of like styled like a barge. So a flat bottom made of, probably foam or plywood, or foam and plywood, and fiberglass. And then that again would have solar panels charging it, or just a large enough battery bank on board, and it would be charged by the home solar system. So basically, I could just, you know, plug it into my solar, you know, off-grid stuff, charge the battery up overnight, and then in the morning go down to the dock, unplug the boat, and head out, do a little bit of fishing before breakfast. And so, yeah, that would be awesome. And on top of that, I mean, I love electronics. I love lithium batteries. It's really fascinating to me. I'd love to build some big packs. I would be building my own. It would be like a propeller drive, right? But I would find some sort of big, powerful DC motor to run a shaft to a prop. I would design the whole thing myself, and it would just be, you know, silent, putt-putting around, you know, electrically. And maybe it has the option to put a top over it, you know, like a solar roof, to make it an unlimited range boat. And yeah, I would just putt around and go fishing in the morning, and then head back home, do some work, do some editing, do some uploading, and then maybe in the evening before dinner or after dinner, go out, putt around, do a little bit more fishing. I feel like being on the water makes me feel so calm and happy. If you're subscribed to my second channel, which is SE Con Dairy, I think it's linked in the description. You'll see that I have a little trolling motor and a little aluminum boat that I went up to my parents' cottage with, and with one of the batteries that I showed on one of my videos. And yeah, I just went with the trolling motor and that battery and that cheap boat I bought like 10 years ago or whatever it was. I was so happy just cruising around the lake, doing nothing, literally just enjoying being on the water. So my end game, channel would bring me there, would bring me to that place. And that electric boat with the optional unlimited range roof, I think it would have to be big enough to sleep on, because I think it'd be pretty cool to do. Like, I don't know, if I live here in Ottawa still at that point, it would be neat to go to like maker meetups and stuff like that, and maker fairs in Toronto, but leaving Ottawa and doing the most relaxing cruise, you know, down the Rideau River system, and show up in Toronto in, you know, it takes like a week, but like so relaxing. It's basically a vacation, and then do the chaos of the maker fair for a couple days, and then just relax all the way back up. It would be phenomenal. I would absolutely love that. So that's why it's in my end game. Just a quick interruption to talk about this episode's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay has been a long-term sponsor of the channel, and I think they're a good match for my channel because they provide quality PCBs for a reasonable price. You can get boards manufactured up to 100 mils by 100 mils for just $5, including shipping to Canada, $15 US, including shipping to USA, $12 US, which is incredibly cheap for professionally manufactured PCBs. I can personally attest to the quality of these PCBs, and so if you want a circuit immortalized forever, check out PCBWay.com with the link in the description. Now back to the conversation. And of course, the house would have enough space for my wife to grow her YouTube and Twitch channels as well. But another thing I think would be pretty important in our final house is somewhere to work out. We have a little space here dedicated to working out, but because of how small the house is, Basically, there's no room in the basement because I sort of took it over. And when you do like cardio or weights or whatever on the main floor or little workout area, it kind of like rumbles. It shakes the whole house. So that's not great. And so, yeah, in our final iteration of a house, we want somewhere to work out and lounge, probably a TV, a sound system sort of things in there. And not even a big TV or a great sound system, just a spot that we can go do a couple of reps without setting anything up, moving furniture aside and getting things done. I find that for me, I need processes to be as little friction as possible. And so having stuff set up and ready to use is quite important if it's not something that I'm like already motivated to do. So like working out for me is extremely difficult when I have to set things up. Even the treadmill, having to unfold it is is detrimental to me. And I know this is all on my end, but it is what it is, right? I need to lower the friction to get stuff done. So yeah, that would be where ideally I would be, I assume it's doable, especially if I continue to try to be a teacher and they actually hire me to be a teacher instead of contract work all the time. All these things are doable in the next 20 years, maybe 30, right? Depends how the economy goes. Who knows? But it is doable. So this is my like attainable dream, basically. So how about the channel itself now? So that was a lot of like where the channel gets done and how my headspace is going to be. What does the Simple Electronics YouTube channel look like at the end game, in 20 years from now? Well, my wife and I are not interested in having children. It's just not. It's not going to happen. We don't want children. It's a big responsibility. It's a sacrifice we're just not willing to do. We don't like kids. We don't like other people's kids. It's just, even me as a teacher, I don't think I could teach kids that are too young. Because when their parents are around, it's not so bad. Their parents do the parenting and I can do the teaching type thing. Like I've hung out with, my nieces and nephews and stuff like that. And they're pretty cool to be around, when their parents are around. But somewhere at a school, even high school, sometimes pushing it on the maturity level, it's just like you just need them to like pipe down for like a couple minutes. Like, let me finish my explanation and then we can, move around and burn some energy, whatever. Kids is not for me. So I still want to contribute to society. And I did a lot of thinking in the last couple of months, and I definitely 100%, by the time I pass, I want to leave the place better than before I was here. Now, some people argue I'm already doing that with my channel. I get told that sometimes. To me, that's not enough. So I want to reach out via education. So one of the big things that my channel should look like in the end game is there should be basically every topic that I know well enough to teach should be taught. So I've spoken a lot on this channel about making sort of electronics basics videos, and I really mean it when I say I want to do it. But the thing that is causing me anxiety is that I want to make a product, and by product I don't mean that it's paid for. I just mean like I want to put something out that I'm going to be proud of the day I put it out, and 10 years after I put it out, and 30 years after I put it out. Also, sorry if you hear me fidgeting with stuff. I'm a little bit of a fidgeter when I'm by myself. So I'm playing with a hot end right now. So that's why if you hear some squeaks, because I'm screwing and unscrewing the top off of it. So that being said, I can attack things like Ohm's Law. For example, I can make a video. If I put my mind to it, I could probably record a cohesive video in a day or two, edit it in a day, and then have it uploaded and then I can just move on, on to the next one type thing. But the problem is I want to very purposefully make that video so that it reaches as many people as possible, and it explains it in a manner that is as clear as possible and as concise as possible. That takes a lot of effort. Back in university, the university I stopped going to, so I don't actually have the degree, by the way, I had an English teacher who was really impactful, and she told me that writing a novel is difficult, right? To think of a cohesive story and putting it together, making it interesting, building the world, etc., etc. So making a novel is difficult. But she says making a short story is 10 times harder. The problem with the short story versus the novel is the novel, you can take your time and weave an elaborate tale. You can describe every little thing. You can take shortcuts to develop your character. You can, take side quests sort of to develop the character. In a short story, however, every single word needs to matter. Every single word that you put on the page needs to contribute to the story, because if not, you're making it longer for nothing. It's sort of like how YouTube videos are becoming YouTube shorts very quickly. The attention span, and I don't think this is a generational thing, because you'll see older people enjoying shorts as well. So don't start dissing the Zoomers over this. But the attention spans that are commanded by people at the moment are becoming shorter and shorter and shorter. And I think that is the big challenge, that I want to make a video that is like Ohm's law, like explaining something like Ohm's law, current, voltage, resistance, and then even add Watt's law because it goes together, so wattage. Adding all that together, but make it like under 12 minutes. So every demo I do, every word I say really has to be calculated in order to make a really good product. And these kinds of things give me anxiety because it's just always on my mind. It feels like I can't rest because I can't muster the courage to make a bad video. I mean, I've made plenty of bad videos, but something like that, and I think it's linked to my progeny, right? To the fact that I'm not going to have kids, is that these videos, these informative videos, that is what my legacy is going to be, if that sounds not too weird at all. The other thing is that I've spoken to a lot of makers over the course of this podcast and before, and not even related to the podcast. I've learned lots of stuff. Not everybody learns the same way. People are unique. They need. Some people want it visually represented. Some people need explanations in a couple of different examples. Some people need a textbook to read from. Some people need someone else to digest the same information as them and then give them an explanation of what they understood, etc. So I have a website, simpleelectronics.ca, and all of these videos I want to have a companion article with. I want to build that article so that it not only serves as a reference, right? I hate when articles, go the long way around to give you an answer. So I want to basically make an article with a catchy title, thumbnail, or whatever they call it on an article. And then after that, an executive summary, like a 1,000-foot sort of explanation. And then a point form sort of area where you get the gist of it, and then go into hyperlinked into deeper explanation. So I want to make the sort of article and the video to go together. And so then people who are coming to my channel to learn, they will have the video, they will have the article, and in the video, we'll have visual examples. In the article, it'll have the point form explanation, and it'll also have a little bit deeper explanation. And then on top of all that, links to relevant other videos and other articles where they can learn more about that subject or the exact same subject more in depth. So it's this level of complexity that is sort of like paralyzing me from making tutorial content. I need to work through that myself. I don't think there's an easy solution, but if you have ideas, put them in the comments for sure. So yeah, my channel in the end game should have a ton of tutorial content. Also, I would like to group all of these articles together and edit them in a way that I can make an ebook, which I obviously want to distribute for free because why should I make money off my stuff? The thing is, I'm a cheap person. I do believe that authors and stuff should be paid for their hard work, but it means that I have to be very selective because I don't have a lot of income. I have to be very selective on what paid sources I choose to pay for and which paid sources I choose to just go without, right? So that's a little bit rough, and I don't want to put people in that situation personally, personal decision. And so I'm probably just going to release it for free, you know? So yeah, tutorial content, big thing where the channel should look like in the end game. Also project content. So projects are kind of like what keep me going on this YouTube channel. I have the great opportunity to make cool stuff and then make videos about them. It almost feels like the videos are secondary at this point. Like the videos are what I must do in order to have cool projects. It's not that the video is a chore or anything. Sometimes it can feel like a chore for sure. But I feel like the video is like the permission for me to embark in these crazy ideas and go down to the depths of my mind and sort of see what comes out. Now, my only thing is that I need to be able to finish those projects. And the fact that I kind of jump around from project to project means not a lot gets finished. And so that kind of affects my mental health as well because I don't feel accomplished. I just feel like there's a bunch of junk around me that's accumulating and I need to do something about it. So I've had a plan since a couple of podcasts ago that I was going to start doing intermediary videos, like videos about stuff that isn't finished, just to show you, like, sort of find a hook, something I can talk about and make a video about that is actually showing off a project mid-project and, you know, get your feedback and stuff like that. So I will start doing that. There's a few things I need to do for that, but yeah. So project content, I think in the end game, it'll be 1 or 2 per month because I like doing ambitious things. Like just think about building an electric car, for example. That's going to be, you know, it's going to take months and months and months to build that. Even just waiting for parts is months sometimes. So yeah, in the end game, my channel will have probably 1 or 2 project videos per month, a small project and the continuation of a big project. And hopefully, you know, once a week, something like that, tutorial content would be great. As far as subscribership, I think that the genre has sort of like a top, a peak, a max. I think Dave Jones is at the very top of that. And I've talked about this before. Let me just pull up his channel here. You probably hear me typing really loudly. So he has, at the moment, 889,000 subscribers, and I think he's kind of topped out the market. He's going to climb a bit more. I mean, you continuously climb when you're on YouTube simply because people do find your stuff, but even subscribers who have subscribed to you for a while, they stop watching your content, but you still retain their subscribership. So 1 million is doable for Dave. 1 million is not going to be doable for me. I don't think it's attainable. I think I would be really happy with 100,000 subscribers. The silver play button for me, I think, is the end game goal. I feel on most days, you know, usually when I'm not feeling good about myself. I feel like even in 10 to 20 years, I don't think I'm going to achieve 100,000. But I have really reassuring people around me. My wife being the smartest woman that I know, she tells me that I have a lot of the channel. Okay, me and the channel have a lot of potential. And so I don't think she has any doubt that given it a long enough time, I'm going to make it to 100K. I do also have friends within the YouTube community who think that my channel is going to keep growing and keep getting better and better. Again, I doubt myself, but 100,000 is what I set as my goal. I personally don't feel like 1 million is attainable for me, and I'm okay with that. Like, I've made peace with it. I'm completely fine. But I think if I got my silver play button, I think as far as subscribership is concerned, I would be really thrilled with that. Social Blade, which is, by the way, one of the websites that YouTubers use to check their and other YouTubers' growth. Social Blade says in just under 3 years, in 2025, November 2025, I should be able to achieve 100,000 subscriptions, subscribers. But I don't think so. You know, I try my best to do interesting stuff, or the stuff that interests me, and you know, sometimes it just doesn't land, and that's okay. But it shows me I don't know if 100,000 is doable. But I mean, hey, maybe one day. So yeah, that's what the future of the channel will look like. And at the moment, actually, if you feel like interacting with me more, because the YouTube comment section can be a little weird, and I'm a little bit behind in getting back to people also. I do want to remind you that I am available for a live stream. I am live streaming twice a week, every single week. I'm playing video games on twitch.tv/simpleelectronicsyt. Every Monday about 8 Eastern time. So I'm recording this on a Sunday, so tomorrow I'll be there. And if you're listening to this on the week of release, well then next Monday, you'll be able to see me there. The only time I cancel them is if there's, if I'm doing other stuff, I've got appointments, or I've got a podcast guest that can only make it during that time. So there's that. The other time I live stream, which I'm a bit more excited about even, is on my SE Made a Stream channel, which is youtube.com/SESTREAMS. I'll link it in the description, but it's YouTube has these new URLs. So it's youtube.com/SE-streams, like SE and then the word streams all together. And that'll bring you there. And I believe it was Thursday, I set it about 1 p.m. Eastern time for a couple hours. This is really the best place to interact with me, because what's happening there is all those projects that take me like months and months and months to do, a lot of which require sort of doing KiCad work, right? PCB layout, prototyping work. So literally making breadboard prototypes, doing Fusion 360, which is like 3D modeling to make cases, enclosure, physical parts, doing research online. All these things take up a lot of time, and I've decided that I will dedicate one like 3 or 4 hour period every week to doing that work, but live. So you'll be able to come and hang out. You can ask me questions. You can give me suggestions, whatever. But yeah, I'm going to do it live, because sometimes when you guys don't see me for a long time, you assume I'm just not working on anything. But usually I'm just way over my head working on everything. I feel of myself sometimes, of my life, like I'm, like a dinghy bobbing in the ocean. And every once in a while, I have to row my heart out to get to a goal. And then when I complete that goal, it kind of like disappears and then I'm bobbing again. So I'll give you an example. This whole summer I was working at the college teaching, which was fantastic. But I was rowing that whole time, getting more and more exhausted. And then when it ended, I was still being hit by waves like, oh, I got to do YouTube. I've got to do, sponsored videos to pay my mortgage because my income just disappeared when my contract ended. And, I feel like I had to do a trade show very recently. So that was another thing I had to do instead of rowing towards other goals, right? So I feel like I'm always rowing towards something. And it feels like I never achieve anything, right? Like I never sort of, I can never just start the engine and let it take over and let me relax a bit. I feel like I'm constantly being, moved left and right and up and down by the waves. So I feel like I'm not making any progress. I think that's what I should say. And I think that helped make me think of what the end game is for my channel and why my end game includes like a place, a house that I can be happy with, some leisure time. I think that's just my dream. So anyways, come see me on all this to say, youtube.com/@SEstreams. Yeah, because I don't want to get like the Hacksmith and William Osman, where the Hacksmith recently had to step back because he had clinical depression and he started doing the content treadmill. Go check out his video. It's really good. But yeah, that's the sort of thing I need to avoid. I don't want to burn out because it gets a little bit more dangerous for me because my income is extremely spotty with the contract nature of my work. So right now I'm good. Right now I got a few months of expenses saved up. I say saved up, right? But a few months. And so right now, I'm feeling more comfortable than I've been in the last couple of years. But I have no emergency fund, stuff like that. And if the college decides to not renew my contract, then I'm really in the shit. So right now, things are okay. So that's good. So if you're thinking of joining Patreon, please don't do it because I said that comment. Just make sure it's from your heart. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to move on to the Q&A section of this podcast. Typically when I do a solo podcast, I like to do a Q&A section. And of course, my Patreons get their questions answered first. So Mark, take everything I was talking about, the tutorial content, and that's kind of why. But the truth is I have to buckle down and I have to do it. So I may have to revise these videos, but yeah, I don't want to put any promises because typically I promise a timeline and then I get hit by another wave and have to paddle somewhere else for a little bit and then I feel even worse. But the thing is, I'm always working on it in the background and at some point soon it's going to coalesce and become a video. He also asks, how have you prepared for the cowpocalypse? I have a barbecue outside, so I guess I could prepare by filling up the propane tank. I mean, you don't usually get attacked by things that taste so delicious, so I'm not too worried. And plus, the price of beef in Canada these days, actually all groceries, are absolutely insane. I will gladly enjoy slaughtering the cows from the cowpocalypse and making some burgers. I don't think I've treated myself to a good burger in a very long time. Next Patreon, Big Z's a new addition to Patreon. Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? 100 duck-sized horses. This is a classic Reddit question, by the way, but definitely 100 duck-sized horses. I feel like I could mow them down pretty easily. And then, Swedish meatballs, anyone? Next one up, I will go on to my Twitter. So at YouTube_simple. One question from my wife, and she writes, how much do you prepare ahead of time for a podcast and how much is spur of the moment questions? So I used to make a Google Doc and type out a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk to the guest about. But these days, I try to do it all by the seat of my pants because I think it allows me to engage more with them, to have an actual listening conversation, a back and forth. I obviously don't tell my guests that I don't have much prepared because the last thing I want to do is make them feel uncomfortable. The whole point of the podcast is for the person to feel comfortable. And the fact that there's no cameras on, that it's pre-recorded and then edited and then they have to approve it, that was my process of making people feel comfortable. And I've learned a long time ago that if you just pretend that everything's under control, that'll feed into your guest, and your guest will feed that back into you, and that'll make everything be under control. So I don't do very much prep these days. I do write down some keywords because my memory is garbage. But yeah, and plus we have a little pre-chat first, so usually works out really well. Next question on Twitter from Defective Inspector, which used to be a streamer, but is now a doctor. He received his doctorate. So, assuming you had all the parts, how long on average does each of your personal projects take? Hours, days, weeks, months? Definitely months. If I could sit here and focus on a project, like if I had no other things to do, then it would probably take weeks. But at the moment, it's months. It truly is months. And he says, bonus points for the most hilarious thing you did to procrastinate. Learn to like new music. Basically, my procrastination habits are going and listening to current day pop artists' new releases. Actually, there's some really good ones. I mean, color me surprised, but Taylor Swift is actually pretty good. Ariana Grande, pretty good. I recently semi-recently took a shining to Post Malone, pretty good. DaBaby was good before, all his slurs, so not so much anymore. Dua Lipa, I don't mind this generation's music. It just took a little bit to let it grow on me. Next question on Twitter again from Mr. Doug Sarbin, who is also a Patreon. It's actually a Patreon of mine's and my wife's, and I believe Big Z as well. But anyways, what was your first electronic project? I don't think I can remember, but I do know that I felt elated when I realized that when I programmed my first Arduino, which is a microcontroller, for those of you who are a bit tech illiterate, which is fine, I programmed it to turn on an LED, a light, and then turn it off, and then on and off. But the thing is, I didn't tell the Arduino to take a break, right? I just said on, off, as fast as you can go. And so when I uploaded the code, my LED was solid on. And I was like, that's wrong. It's supposed to go on, then off. And I checked my code. I checked examples and whatever. And I was like, I don't get what I did wrong. And then I realized it was going on and off because I can just set it to on and not off, and the LED would be twice the brightness. What had happened, it was going on and off so fast I couldn't perceive it. It was actually just dimmed 50%. And so when I added a delay, that's the reason they added delay, a waiting period, is so that you can see when it's off, because or else it just looks like it's on at half power. It's the craziest thing. So I felt elated when I did that, my first coding, so that's pretty good. What inspired you to learn more about it? Was that what inspired you to learn more about it? No, it was working in the automotive field that inspired me to learn about electronics, because in the automotive field, cars under warranty, the manufacturers really want you to follow their diagnostic trouble tree. So do A, then B, then C, then D, then E. And they get to a point, especially stuff controlled by computer or modules, where they say, let's just say it's like a dome light, like a courtesy light isn't working. They'll be like, well, check the bulb. Then check for power at the connector. Then check for ground at the connector. Then check for the ground at the body. And then check for power, et cetera, et cetera. And then when the diagnostic trouble tree brings you to a control module, like let's say the body control module, so the computer that controls all the accessories, electrical accessories in the car, it would say, so after you've tested all those things, replace the body control module with a known good module. So they say, buy a new computer and put it in. And then they say, has that fixed the problem? Yes, no. And if it's no, they say, okay, buy a new gauge control module or PCM, like a powertrain control module, and then confirm that the thing is repaired. So basically, they would tell you, test everything around, test all the wiring, and then if you get to a point where all that's done, replace the module, and if that didn't work, replace the other module. So basically, they're telling you that you have to order a $2,000 module and all the labor required to actually pull it out of where it's sitting, plug it everything back in, and then reprogram it to be the same as the other module. And then if that doesn't work, you need to spend another $2,000, right? And the first one isn't covered under warranty anymore, like because when you order parts that isn't the problem. I work for a Honda dealership. I guess the cat's out of the bag, but it's okay. The manufacturer doesn't pay for the wrong part to be replaced. So now you have a non-returnable electronic module that you just have to eat the cost of, like not me, but the company. And then we have to order another one, a different one, and hope that fixes the problem. So because they wouldn't tell me specifically like what the inputs and the outputs should look like, that's when I was like, I need to learn this. I need to do it of my own volition. And then I feel like I've already gotten to a point where my understanding of electronics is well beyond what the manufacturer will share with me. So that's pretty good. And the last question by Mr. Doug Sarbin. What project that you've completed are you the most proud of? You know what actually puts the biggest smile on my face is my remote control toy boat. The thing that goes like really quick for no good reason. And it looks like a sandbox toy. I'm really proud of that. The video got like very few views, but I was happy with it. So there's that. Let me see if I can bring it up here on my channel. I don't know if I'll be able to get it. Toy boat? No, toy boat isn't bringing it up. The search is terrible. Okay, here it is. So I'm really proud of this video. I had a lot of fun doing it. The video is called Making a Toy Go Way Faster. I'm going to change the title to Toy Boat Go Way Faster Than Intended. But yeah, I'm really proud of that video, but it did garbage. Let me see, analytics here. Since published, it got 884 views, which is, it's like double my average. But yeah, it did terrible. I think the thumbnail's nice. I loved it, but people didn't, which is, I mean, that's YouTube. But yeah, it's quite unfortunate. I make a lot of videos that I'm really proud of, but they usually don't amount to anything. Like my instructional how to use a multimeter video. I think that is the most in-depth tutorial, the type of tutorial that I really wanted to make. It comes with the article. It has examples. It has stuff that you can try at home, and it got 1,100 views, which is a bit defeating. I pulled my hair out for that video, and it didn't amount to very much. But that just goes to show how difficult it is, right? Okay, I also have some more questions from my community post. Here we go. So first question is from @user xi5hz1mz9c. It said, how can beginner makers make the world a better place? Well, I think it's the same way that you would eat an elephant, one bite at a time. And what I mean about that is start start by learning. You have to learn first, right? You got to put your oxygen mask on before you can help someone else. But once you've done that, just not being a gatekeeper is already a big help to the community. Just being the one who recommends that people try it. It's not that hard. I also thought it was hard. Why don't you check out, Dan's YouTube channel, Simple Electronics, or why don't you go check, Dave Jones's channel? Why don't you borrow an Arduino from me for a few days? Stuff like that, I think already can have an impact. Beyond that, though, the other thing you can do is share your passion. I think a big problem with kids is that they don't know what they like and don't like. So if you've got access to younger generation, you got nieces, nephews, kids, neighbors, whatever. Make your projects, but make them visible. Show them off, and maybe someone will see what you've done and become inspired. So I think that's how even beginner makers can make the world a better place. I'd say share your passion, right? I recommend everybody that comes around here on the podcast or the channel in my comment sections, I say make a YouTube video. If I inspired you to make something, I want to see it. I want to see it for me, but I also want other people to see it. You should share what you've done and be proud of it. So that's how you can help make the world a better place. Same user, I believe. Yes. I like to use open source software such as FreeCAD and KiCad. Good man. Person? Yeah, user. So just person. As I fear losing access to the tool. How do you choose your software tools? I also have a large slant on using open source tools. I also like paid tools that are pay once. I hate the predatory practices of people like Adobe. I am right now I'm using Adobe because, like I said, lower friction. I've already learned Adobe a long time ago, and if I have to learn something new, it's going to hinder my process, and already my process is hella hindered. And so what I do pledge to do, and I can't say when because obviously I can't make promises, but I pledge to switch to other software. So DaVinci Resolve at the moment is still free. It's going to be free. I don't think they have plans of monetizing it, but also Vegas Pro 18 or something is available in Humble Bundle right now for very cheap. So Vegas and some photo editing stuff and some audio editing stuff, I think is like $32 Canadian. I tried to use FreeCAD in order to get away from Fusion because Fusion is free to use, but it's not open source. So any time they can turn off the taps, I could not jive with the way FreeCAD worked, but I need to give it another shot. So basically, I do want, like, it's part of my core values. I want my channel to be using mostly or as much as possible open source alternatives when they exist. So at some point when there's less friction for me to do my work, to do my YouTube channel, I will be making a true effort to convert. At the moment, I think what I'm going to do is I might buy, Sony Vegas or download DaVinci Resolve or something, because I need to get going on that. So yeah, same thing. I mostly start with open source. And the reason I used Fusion 360 in the first place is because I saw someone use it and it seemed to work really well with the way my brain processes 3D stuff. And FreeCAD does not. But I will give it another shot, I promise. Same user, last question from them. I live in a warm location. We rarely see temperatures below freezing. Oh God, we get minus 40 C here. We get plus 40 C in the summer and minus 40 in the winter. How does the bitter cold affect your projects and opportunity to make? Opportunity is the big one. And also, it really stagnates and I think my wife's too, mental health because we don't go outside as much when it's cold. And also when the sun's not out much, it's more depressing. I also have really bad light sensitivity. So when it's dark, I can see okay. When it's light, I can see okay. But when it's dark and then like a car comes like oncoming, like on a 2-lane highway, I lose my night vision. So it's horrible. I'm not well set up for big fluctuations in light levels. So yeah, that's not good. And the cold, I mean, it makes everything harder. I'll give you a big example. I've got solar panels sitting in my basement right now. They're, I don't know, 7-8 feet away from me. That's pretty much the other end of the basement. And they're not outside right now because in the summer when it was nice, I was working like crazy. Now I'm not working, but it's freaking cold to be woodworking outside, to build a frame to put them outside, to run a cable. I need to replace one of the windows here in the basement with a panel to run the wires through and insulate it. So yeah, it does have a big effect. And when I make remote control projects, which I really love, also very cold, very hard on the hands. My hands don't work in the cold. So yeah, there is big effects. So yeah, it does affect me. But on the other side is I feel less guilty running the 3D printers when it's cold because it's probably about 17 or 16 degrees Celsius in the basement in the winter. And so when I run the 3D printers, right, it is wasting energy. Obviously, it's heating up, right? It's a heated bed. It's a heated hot end. But it at least is helping warm the house, right? It offsets. So it helps offset. Versus in the summer when the AC is running, you're fighting the AC with it. So there's that. At Mother June, what is your vision about the future of electronics? What types of parts do you want to see? Well, I'm not an engineer, so I won't really say that I have any like technological ideas about the future or what I want to see. But what I want to see is something. Is the stuff become more user-friendly. Some way to teach programming that jives with more people. I think that's the big deal. I'm going to choose not to put a company on blast because I have to talk to them through internal channels first. But there is a company that really positions themselves as beginner-friendly. And there has been some trialing, and it was not beginner friendly. Let's just leave it at that. I will never confirm nor deny until that company gives me permission. But yeah, I need to speak with them on that fact. But yeah, beginner friendliness is the big deal. And if I have to, wear myself down to make other people's products more beginner friendly, I'll do it. But I don't have to be happy about it, right? So there. Next person. No, this is the last one. And I didn't know how to take this question, but the person said, what to do when Russia destroys electrical infrastructure in your country? And I was like, I'm not sure if you're being serious. And the person said, well, the question has a bit of irony, but he is being serious. Talking about a lot of family and friends living in Ukraine. And so I think what to do, I think the biggest thing about this when your electrical infrastructure goes down is you kind of have to be prepared. So I don't have like a big solution for any problems like that, but I do think that recycled lithium-ion batteries, power tool batteries, can be configured into a power bank. And I do think that solar panels and solar charge controllers have become very inexpensive. I won't say very inexpensive, but much less expensive. And if you pay a little bit more, you get a folding solar panel, which is a little bit easier to store and bring around. So I think some sort of DIY power bank is the only thing I can think of, because most people who need to keep in touch, with emergency services, with friends, family, loved ones, they need their phone charged. And at the very least, it can, give you a source of distraction in a trying time. So I think a little solar panel a little power bank, USB converter, charge controller type thing. I think learning, having some on hand, the fact that Chinese electronics are extremely cheap, I think that's the best thing you can do. And especially if you can configure like a buck converter with multiple outputs in order to power some devices, like he's talking about a Wi-Fi router to switch to power bank, that kind of stuff in his question. And yeah, if you can, configure something to have multiple outputs, then you can replace multiple plug packs and run them off your lithium-ion batteries. You're going to need quite a significant amount. But again, maybe the solution is a couple people have their own setups, and then you can link them all in parallel. I think that's a decent way to do it. So yeah, power banks, solar panels, and hope. I mean, it's a really bad situation over there, and my heart goes out to all Ukrainians, but not only Ukrainians, but pretty much everybody who's stuck in a war of politics that they had nothing to do with. So I feel for you folks. I wish I could help, but at the moment, all I can do is offer distraction. But hey, if you have a direct way for me to help, if I can design something to make your life easier, hit me up. I'm willing to take on the challenge. I might not be able to help you, but maybe I know where to point you. So yeah, that's the end of the Q&A today. Sorry, that ended a little bit on the downside. But yeah, I go into the end of this podcast now with one more thing is I have to think about quitting my longtime job. So I've had a job at a dealership for a very long time, being a mechanic since 2006. And it's been slowly revealing itself that it's not a great place to work anymore since there's been some hierarchical changes within the company. And so right now, the next thing I'm paddling towards, to keep my boat analogy going, is resigning from that place, which is going to be sad because it was my first real job back in 2006 and been working only on Saturdays, so it's not a lot of money. So it's not a big monetary loss. It's just more of a sad that it was a great working business that was really good, had really good customer relations. We were building something great. We, prided ourselves on doing great work. And right now it's just a shell of what it used to be. So I need to move on from that company. I have started a new job with a owner-operator of a fleet service. And so far it's been pretty good. It's not the same type of work, but pretty thankful that that he wanted to take me on and that it seems to be working out. And so I'll be very sad to see the place that I used to love to work go. And by go, I mean I'll be going. I won't be, I'll be leaving there. But yeah, I think I have to think about it as a new chapter in my life instead of, the end of something. It's just the start of something else, I suppose. And yeah, guys, wish me luck. Hopefully the college will make me a new contract for next summer. But until then, I really appreciate you guys listening. And I did have a couple of people reach out. Specifically, I don't want to call them out, but a couple of people told me they listened to the podcast while they're doing stuff that I truly admire, that I wish I could be in their position. And they tell me that they're doing this kind of stuff while listening to the podcast. It really warms my heart. I found one review for the podcast, and it was so good. It really warmed my heart too. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in week after week. I really appreciate you guys. And I say guys, I really appreciate you people listening, commenting, being around. And so this is the 60th episode. I hope to catch you folks in another 60. Thanks for listening.